everybody. Welcome to the Projection Project. My name is Rain. I'm your super awesome, epic, and cool host. And today we have back with us Maddie.
Hi.
Yay! How do you feel to be back?
I am so excited to be back, honestly. I'm very excited. It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, it's been over a year, yeah?
Yes. I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think about it.
I think it was last summer.
Yes, that sounds right.
At this point, I just don't know. I don't know.
It was sometime last year.
I don't post the podcast often enough. I should. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, I hope everyone had a good year, since this is going to be out in the beginning of December. I hope everyone had a great year. I hope everyone listened to the podcast episodes that came out this year. I believe there were only 4. Sorry about that. But there will definitely be more coming out next year. But with that, let's get on to the topics we have planned.
Yay.
Yippee! I wouldn't say they're downers, but they're not yippee pot topics.
They're important. They're important topics.
Serious?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with the not so serious one, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
Okay. So I already made a video about this topic. It seemed to kind of do well. I know some people commented their opinions on what they thought. And I had talked to some of my other friends about this, and I know they had some thoughts as well. But I even said in the video that I was like, this is more of a podcast topic, and here I am making it a podcast topic.
Yay, follow through.
So, have you ever talked to somebody or had someone comment on your post or DM you, you guys are chatting for a while and then they ask you if you've shifted and you've said no and then they've ghosted you?
Yes, that has the one example that I'm thinking of was on Instagram specifically, but I do know several people who have commented and asked me things, and then as soon as I explain how my shifting happened, or back before I had shifted, even as soon as I said no, I haven't shifted yet, or it's complicated, they would be like, oh, never mind, bye, and just dip.
I think it's sad how often it happens to people, because it happened to I can't remember when I made the video. I think it was October, and no, I think it was September, October. I don't really remember. But I someone had messaged me, and I think I have my messages open. I don't know if I changed that recently. And this person and I were messaging back and forth, because a little bit before that I made a video about void state, answering questions that people had on a live that I had a couple a month prior. And I feel a lot of people would have questions like that, so I was just making a video like that, and the video did well. And I was basically answering the questions for the person in the DM, and then basically the person had asked, made a statement I had shifted, and I said, oh, I haven't shifted. They were like, oh, my bad. And I was like, when did I say I had shifted? I even said in the video, I'm pretty sure in the void state video, that I had not shifted. Also, you can, most of the time, in accounts, you can take 1 or 2 good scrolls to see if a person has shifted or not.
Exactly. A lot of people have it in their bio even, and just make it really easy. I don't understand why people's automatic assumption is if you post on shifttok, you have shifted. I think there are so many people who have such valid information, even if they haven't shifted at all, no mini shifts or nothing like that. I don't think you have to have a shifting experience to know what you're talking about when it comes to shifting. And I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think I said in the video, I don't understand why people desperately want to be friends with people who have shifted versus who have not shifted. And I'm I think it's because I think one of my friends had commented saying that it's because they want to see if that if it is a lie, or if they're gonna say give them tips, or if they're gonna give them I think I was the one who said are they just gonna give them story times that they don't say on their account. I'm like,
Yes.
it's odd.
Yeah. And I also think it ties into a lot of times bigger accounts are accounts of people who have shifted. Like, I feel like I don't see very many big popular shift talk accounts of people who haven't shifted yet and are just giving advice. So I think when people see that you make TikToks, they assume that you've shifted. And if you haven't, they're like, oh, well, that's why you only have however many followers. Or like, people don't care about your shifting journey until you've been successful and can like help them. Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but
No,
I think a
yeah,
lot of
no,
people.
I definitely agree. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Because like also I don't think a lot of people say this, but I feel like people don't really care about what people say unless they like idolize the creator, which we've talked about
Exactly.
before. But everyone's journey is so different. You need to stop following that one creator that you love so much because their journey
Yes.
is different from yours.
Yes. I hate that it just gets to a point. I feel like on Shift Talk where people are like, well, this big account did this method and this big account tells this advice. So why would I listen to you if your advice is different? And it's like, because I'm a different person and you're a different person. So like the advice of one creator with hundreds of thousands of followers is not necessarily going to apply to you. Like my advice might not apply either, but you could at least listen to both of us and see what you're feeling. Like there's no need to prioritize people who have shifted or people with bigger followings. Like everyone's journey is unique and different, and so it helps to listen to lots of different opinions and advice.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Going off topic a little bit, I think I said in the video, I meant to say this a little bit back more, that whenever people become like, they ask if they can become friends because they've shifted or whatever, one of my mutuals said that sometimes that they will steal content because of stuff like this. And I'm like, I didn't know that this happened either because I've never had someone steal content from me.
Yeah.
But I was like, I didn't know that that was an issue where asking to become mutuals, they talk and then they start stealing content.
Yeah, I've never actually heard of that. Like I have had people copy my video ideas, but not like just want to talk to me to hear what I have to say and then take it and pass it off as their own. Like that is so messed up. That's wild.
Whenever I was told that, I was like, that's insane, because I had talked about the, like, hey, has this happened to you? And then they told me, and then they're like, yeah, and then sometimes they start stealing content. And I was like, huh?
Wow.
I don't know how often that happens to people, but it might be like on like the lesser side, considering, I mean, we're only two people, but
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I had ever heard of that happening. But
Yeah, I've never heard of it either.
I know stealing content is pretty popular in shifttok, unfortunately.
Yes. I think it gets complicated because there are like trends and types of videos that people will make that are all the same, that it's kind of hard to tell like who started the trend. But I have seen a couple of videos in the past, and it has happened to me with my content, that like the sound is exactly the same, the wording is exactly the same, and it's not like a big trend. I feel like sometimes people just see a video that does well on Shift Talk and they're like, oh, I could make that video. Like, what if I posted it? Will I get the clout too? Like, it hasn't happened to me with my personal like shifting experiences or my, I want to say it was like a scenario that I posted or something like that, but it is still just a little bit hurtful to be like, you posted that like an hour after I posted mine. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't. We've talked about, not we, but me and another guest have talked about stealing content before and why people don't share story times anymore with
Yeah.
with people stealing content. And it's a really thin line with like wanting to post but people stealing content. Like you desire like wanting to share, but you're afraid of people stealing or calling you a liar.
Yes. That happens to me a lot. I know it's kind of off topic, but I also think that it ties into the like, if you haven't shifted, or like me, I have technically shifted, but not in the sense that like other people have. Like it's just kind of a complicated explanation. But I feel like if you have not shifted or you have like a complicated shifting history, people are much more likely to say that you're lying about something. Like it happened to me with DR memories, and I know that you had a video or a podcast recently about DR memories, but people will just stop listening to what you say as soon as you say I haven't shifted or it's complicated, and they'll jump straight to like, oh well, then you must be lying, you must not know what you're talking about, you must be making stuff up for clout. Like there is such a difference between my journey is complicated or I haven't shifted, like, why would you immediately jump to, well, then you're lying. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me how people jump to that so quickly.
And it's interesting that you say that. Well, not that you say that, but I'm going to get to the point. Like,
yeah.
It's interesting, like, whenever stuff like that happens to someone who hasn't shifted or is a lesser account versus someone who is a bigger account and will say stuff like that, because people eat that shit up. And then they're like, oh my God, yeah, like, it'll get popular.
Yes.
And, like, people will, like, I love it. But if someone who hasn't shifted or is a smaller account, people are like, you're lying. You're, like, a fake account. Not, like, a fake account, but, like, stuff like that. Like,
Literally.
I'm amazed at the difference of response.
Literally. And I think it ties back into, like, the shifted and haven't shifted yet because, like I said, most of the time the accounts who have big followings and are, like, well known on shifttok, they have shifted. And so whenever they say something, they have a big following, they've shifted, so obviously they're trustworthy, right? Like, they would never lie. And I'm not saying that any big accounts are lying to you. I just mean that, like, people automatically assume that big accounts are telling the truth, but if a smaller account or someone who hasn't shifted says the exact same thing, they're lying. Like, the follower count just determines your validity and, like, the truth of your statements, which is just absolutely insane to me because that is not how that works. But for some reason, that's how it works on shifttok.
I know. And people need to realize that that's definitely not the case because obviously anyone with a shifttok account can lie.
Exactly.
And that's proven. Like, even bigger accounts can lie. Like, do you guys remember, like, okay, so we just talked this out because we couldn't remember who it was. We think, not 100% certain. We think it was Mel. We're pretty sure Mel was the one who lied, back in, like, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously that was 2 years ago, but people can still lie, is our point.
Yes.
We just couldn't remember who it was.
Yes. The point still stands, though. Regardless of who it was, people can lie if they have 10 followers or if they have 10,000 followers or if they have 1 million followers. They could still be lying to you. Not saying that they are, but anyone is capable of lying.
With 1 million followers.
Oh my God.
Okay, anyway.
Gross.
I don't want to talk about that. Jump scare.
Jump scare. Oh no.
Did you have any last thoughts on people ghosting you after talking about, or after saying you haven't shifted?
Yeah, I think it just, like we talked about, like, people don't believe you, and that's why they stop listening to you. Like, they just immediately don't care anymore, and I think that's kind of messed up, personally, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't have any last thoughts. I think I said everything I wanted to say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next topic, I'm not, like, excited to talk about this, but I felt like a genius coming up with this next topic. let me just say that, because I feel like I said this every episode. Where I'm like, I feel like this isn't talked about. Brain, shut up. No, but I'm actually serious about this one because, like, I want to say that I feel like this is, like, a taboo thing to talk about because people always associate this with, like, it being bad, and it isn't always bad.
Yeah.
So this is deciding not to shift somewhere anymore after already shifting there or after already making a script.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Okay, so this is maybe not exactly what you're talking about, but I do have, like, a specific example for me. I focused on my Bridgerton DR last summer, like, a lot. And it got to the point where I had so many memories about that DR, and I was channeling, which is not necessarily related to shifting, but kind of ties in. Just, I knew so much about that DR, and I was so connected that I didn't even want to try and actually shift there anymore because I was like, well, I know what happens. You know, I can channel, I can write fan fiction, I can do whatever. I don't need to shift there. So I had to, like, intentionally stop focusing on that DR. So it's not necessarily, like, abandoning the DR or, like, quitting it altogether, but I had to make myself focus on a different DR. And I think it's such a sad feeling that I feel like people don't, like you said, they don't talk about it enough because you can love a DR or a script or a whatever so much and still decide that, like, either it's not right for you at all or it's not right for you at this time. And it's such a sad feeling, especially, like, when I think back to what I was feeling at the time. Like, I loved that DR so much. I loved Colin Bridgerton, who was my partner. Like, I was so excited. I about all of it, but I knew that for my shifting journey as a whole, it was more important for me to focus on shifting as a concept instead of that specific DR. So there was like a sadness that came from kind of letting go and switching gears, but it's also really important sometimes to know when it's time to like let go and move on. That I think people sometimes hold on to their DR so tightly. They're like, I don't want to leave it. I don't want to abandon the script. I don't want to abandon whatever, when sometimes it's just best for you to move on.
I definitely, you literally put that in the most beautiful words.
Oh my God, thank you.
I definitely agree. I know a lot of people who haven't shifted at least, can relate to the deciding not to go, so like deciding not to go somewhere anymore after already making like a script. I've at least already done it once. And then like maybe twice, but like I hadn't really finished it. Like I was like maybe I just like the idea of it, like not actually going. And I think a lot of people are like that, where they like the idea, but they don't actually want to go.
Controversial take. I think most people who say they want to go to Criminal Minds or they want to go to The Walking Dead, and I'm not saying that for any type of creator before, like that is not anything, but people who say I want to go to Criminal Minds and The Walking Dead, I think they really like the idea, but when they get there, they're going to regret it. I think most people are not actually prepared for those like high stakes DRs like that, like they think they are.
I don't know. I don't know enough about Criminal Minds to say anything about it.
Yeah.
But obviously I know that Walking Dead is a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a lot of people like will change it. Like you can obviously change the plot, and I've talked about like changing the plot in a few episodes. Because I'm like, I'm a big plot person going for the plot. So I understand stuff like that, but I know me and some other mutuals I have take a lot of safety precautions when going for plots of DRs. And in high like intensity DRs like that, I think a lot about it before I decide I want to go.
Exactly.
Because like there are other things I'm like drawn to as well, other than like the like plot. But obviously, like I think a lot about it, because there were a few DRs where I'm like, I don't really know if I want to go. Like there's a lot of like either a lot of violence, or like it's a war, which obviously is like violence itself. But then there's other things, and I'm like, I don't really know. But I end up thinking a lot about it, and I decide I want to go.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, is that you said that you think a lot about it before you even like get to invested. And that's what I think a lot of people don't, I'm getting kind of off topic, but a lot of people don't put enough thought into their DRs. And so I feel like if they're going to shift without the right safety precautions, without changing the plot at all, like people don't think enough about it. And then once they get there, they're going to regret it, I feel like. But I think it kind of ties into, it's important sometimes to realize when you need to let go of a DR, because you might put a lot of thought into your DR and then suddenly you realize like, do I really want to be in this situation? And then you have time to like step back and either change your script or just move on to something else. Like I think people need to put more care into planning their DRs in general. And that's something that I talk a lot about on my account, is people don't always understand how real shifting is. And sometimes it's okay to let go of a script or of a DR, because you realize how real it's going to be and how the situations are going to impact you. So
yeah, I'm someone, obviously everyone's different, where before I make a script, obviously I think a lot about it, but there are like 3 things I think about before I actually start scripting. It's like, most people like will just start scripting immediately, but most of the time I think of like a backstory first, and then like, I think of like a backstory, and then I think of like, if it's a DR where I have like powers or anything like that, I think about that before I start writing it down. Or like I make like a separate doc or a separate like note sheet, or I use like a notebook and I write like all the ideas I have before I decide on one. And then what else do I think about? There's one more thing and I'm already blanking. I forgot. I forgot.
That's okay.
One more thing, but the backstory is like a big one, because and then how am I going to fit myself like into the plot, for example? Yes. That's the other one, is how am I going to fit myself into the plot? Because if I can't think of how I'm going to fit myself in the plot. Like, I want to think about it. I'm going to use MCU, for example, because it's the best one I can think of where it's going to be, quote unquote, a little bit harder, I guess, to fit myself in. Because I don't want to use Harry Potter as an example, because that one's really easy.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, I came up with powers. Like, you can use literally any kind of powers. You don't have to have powers in MCU. And then I gave myself a backstory, or obviously you can have any kind of backstory in MCU. But that took a little bit. But I remember in the MCU, since it's very big now, but obviously I made my script 2 years ago, it was smaller. It was a little bit smaller. Where I was like, I don't know where to start because the MCU spectrum is so big. I mean, even then, like, it was like 2008 to what was it? Oh, like Infinity War. It was like Infinity War.
Yeah, like 2024.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like 2008 to 2024, and I was like, I don't know where to start. So that was my issue, is I didn't know where to put myself, so I didn't want to make my script yet.
Yeah.
Because I was like, here's where I want to be. Like, here, I was like, I knew where I wanted to start, like, quote unquote, like where I wanted to be in the Avengers, because I wanted to be in the Avengers, but I just didn't know where I wanted to place myself.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Like, how'd you get there?
Yeah, like, that was my biggest issue. So then I realized, I wanted to be in the Avengers, so I put myself, like, a year before the Avengers, like, was supposed to take place, like, probably, like, 2011.
Yeah.
So, like, I think about stuff like that.
Yeah, and because I don't know, like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just don't know that people necessarily put in that much detail when they're planning their scripts. They just will, like, jump in and be like, yeah, I want to date this person. I want to be part of this plot. Let me just add myself in here. And they don't take time to think about, like, how they got there or what the future is going to look like. And so I think that could lead to people changing their mind about a DR a little bit easier.
That's okay. I have two things to say. I have a really controversial thing, and I think I'm afraid people will get mad at me, but I think too many, I sound like an asshole, I think too many people shift for love, and I think that's why so many people don't think about their scripts enough. And I get why. Like, a lot of people crave that person, crave that, like, validation, but it can cause issues when scripting if you don't think about it enough, if you're only thinking about that person, you know?
I will say, you said you're a plot shifter. I am a romance shifter, so I find this conversation very interesting, and I'm not offended. I'm not mad at you. I think that's a very valid statement. Actually, no, quit the podcast. I'm done. Turn it off. No, I'm kidding. I think that is a very valid take, and I think people will prioritize their love interest and their relationship above anything else, and not to be like, I'm better, I'm cooler, I do all the right things all the time. But I do think that I do a pretty good job about not doing that. I have a video that I posted last year that's like my scripting process, and it's a joke. But my first step is pick a love interest, which is a joke, but accurate. Find out a way that I could get with a love interest, and then keep the love interest happy, healthy, and living. That's like the entire joke. I am actually planning on reposting that video. So if you see it, mind your own business.
That's literally so funny.
Yes. So, but I think it is important. I think you have a very valid point that you don't want to just be like, yes, I'm okay. I'm going to out myself here. I don't know if you know this about me. I have a Call of Duty DR.
I have a few mutuals with Call of Duty DRs.
Okay. So, and I only have a Call of Duty DR. I've never played the game only because of the cosplayers, and I think Ghost is really hot. Okay. And I out myself like this because I think that's a really easy trap to fall into. Well, I'll just see what happens, or I'll just look up the lore to Call of Duty and add myself in. I would not do well in war, okay? I would not handle that well. That is not for me. So something that I did is I'm part of a recruiting class, and we only do simulated missions. There's no actual fighting or warfare. And then by the time I get accepted to the task force, I'm done shifting to that DR. So I think that there is a way to, like, put thought into having a love interest and prioritizing a love interest, but I agree that a lot of people don't do that. And they're just like, well, I just want to be with this person, which is great. I also just want to be with my people, but you have to consider the world too. Sorry.
I know other people sometimes, like, I'm just going to use Call of Duty as an example. Sometimes they'll make themselves like a nurse instead, so they're not fighting, or stuff like that. Nurse is the best example I could think of.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be something like on the side while they will not be fighting.
Exactly.
just because obviously they don't want to fight.
Yes.
But the other thing I was gonna say back before talking about love was part of the reason why I dropped some scripts was I realized I only liked the idea of going one. And then the other one was like it didn't basically like I couldn't fill out the criteria. Like and basically I didn't like the idea of going anymore. Like I've talked about this in past podcasts where I have a really I hyperfixate and I make scripts whenever I hyperfixate and the script was like half filled out and I really liked the idea where the script was going and I actually made this video like a year ago where I was like scripts I ended up deciding not to make and why, and that script was like I think this may join it and now it's on that list. But it was my Sister Prose DR and it was gonna be based on the books, and I basically I had a backstory, and like I just couldn't figure out how to place myself in the plot. Like I couldn't, or I had basically my backstory was like half filled out, but I couldn't figure out how to place myself like in the plot and stuff like that. Like it was very complicated to me, and I didn't like the idea of going anymore since I wasn't hyperfixated on the Grishaverse. So I was like, I don't really know. Like I think that's what happens to a lot of people like me where they hyperfixate and they make a script. Yes. But then I don't think they want to drop it because they're afraid they're going to hyperfixate on it again. There we go. Yeah. And then they're going to want to go there. But I haven't hyperfixated on the Grishaverse in 2 years. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to go there.
Yeah. I will say something that has helped me because I'm the same way where I get so focused on like one thing. Like I was getting a bunch of Slytherin edits on my For You page and then I made a Draco DR and now I don't shift there anymore and I'm not focused on it, but I have a spreadsheet with all of my DR ideas. And that has helped me feel a lot better about moving on and being okay with I don't want to shift here anymore, but I still have it. I have it. I link my scripts. If I have a script, I put some basic details and it's not going anywhere. Like that's one of the greatest things about shifting, I think, is you have as much time in the world to shift to as many places as you want. So, I think having a list and having everything written down. So it's like, I'm not abandoning you. I'm just putting you on a shelf for if I need you later. Helps me personally feel a lot better about it.
I think I actually liked the video that I made talking about why I decided not to make scripts anymore. I think it was just a interesting, I don't know, people don't make videos like that. So I was because the ones that were on the list, so obviously Sister Prose was on it, but now it's actually on the list. The one that I had the idea of that I was gonna make, and I started I started filling out basically my 3 criteria and everything was the Spider-Verse. I was gonna make a Spider-Verse script, but I decided not to because I don't know, I just liked the idea of it, but I'm not really big into Spider-Man, the actual Spider-Man movies, even though the Tobey Maguire movies was how I got into Marvel. Yeah. But I just decided not to make one, and then the other ones that were on the list, and I want the video is from November of last year. I'm wearing I think a gray sweater, and my hair is in a bun. Yeah. Was Top Gun Maverick, Fantastic Beasts, and then I was gonna make a Wednesday University.
I remember this video now. Sorry.
Yeah, I was
it clicked.
And then I put the reasonings why, and I think for the Wednesday one, I said I didn't want to go to make another university school one, because I already have a Golden Trio one, and then for Fantastic Beasts, I can't remember what I said, and Top Gun, I can't remember what I said either. Yeah, I think it's because I said I didn't feel connected with the plot enough, and I just literally cannot remember what I said about Fantastic Beasts. I don't know, but those are the ones that I thought. Oh, I think it said I just didn't want another Harry Potter one. Fair. I have a Marauders and a Golden Trio one.
I have 5 Harry Potter DRs at this point. But they're all a little bit different. And it's like I said, I'm not focused on all of them all the time. They're just on my spreadsheet for if I want to come back to them. And it's things that I focused on in 2020 and 2021 when I was first learning about shifting. I would need to update my scripts if I even still have my scripts anymore. But I do have 5 Harry Potter DRs on my list. Yeah.
Well, like my Marauders and my Golden Trail one are very different, obviously, because like they're obviously like 20 years apart. But my Golden Trail one follows the plot, and my Marauders one, no war, no voldy moldy. We are out of
Yep.
school. We're all just working jobs, being silly little people.
Yes,
So
I love that.
that's literally just my Marauders one. But my Golden Trail one is like obviously it's university basically, but we are following the plot line. Because
Yeah.
that's me. I'm sorry, guys. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm not like I'm excited, but I'm kind of interested to see like. So I read the books and the movies, but I read the books back in 2020 and 2021, so recently. So I'm excited to see what turns out more like the movies and what comes out more like the books, because there are scenes where I like what happens in the books more than the movies. So I'm just excited to see how that goes.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because a lot of times, even if we script a certain way, just in my experience, when we end up shifting, it's a lot more about our intention and like what's in our head. So you might have like scripted a scenario that's like, this is the scene from the book, but then it turns out more like the movie because just in your head, you like the movie more, or just like because the reality turns out that way. But it is super interesting how like our intentions, this is so off topic, but how our intentions can like shape the way that we end up shifting later on. I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a big this is I think when one of my like first podcast episodes. I'm not a big scenario scripter.
Me either.
I prefer things just to be like how they are.
Yeah.
The only thing is I'm like, this person lives.
Yes. Yes. It's a must, especially for Harry Potter. That is a necessity.
Yeah, I'm like, you live.
Yay! Live your life, be free.
Yeah, I have like 2 things I want. Okay, I have 2 things I want to say, but one will like lead back to what we were talking about, but the other one will also keep like kind of take us to a different topic. But the other one will like take us back to what we were talking about. I don't know. Okay, so I guess we'll go back to what we were talking about.
Okay.
And then the other one, whenever we're done with that,
okay.
I'll take us back to what we were talking about, but it will be a new topic. I don't know.
Got it.
So we were talking about like after making a script, but I kind of want to talk about what, obviously like I can't relate to it, but I know I've seen a lot of like creators who have shifted, deciding not to go somewhere after they've already shifted for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of times I feel like it's after something bad has happened in their DR, or just have like a lot of stuff has gone down, or they've kind of like grown out of it. Like how, I wonder if, obviously I can't relate to this, but I wonder if they just, if anything, I don't know how to phrase this. Like if anything, like, I feel like, okay. I'm trying to decide how to phrase this. Like, I haven't seen any accounts like decide to leave their DR on good terms. I feel like a lot of them has been like bad terms, but I know a lot of times after the last time they shifted, like I've seen a few people like cry just because they're just sad to be leaving. But I know sometimes they are like happy, sad.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah. So I haven't shifted in the sense that I have experienced my shifts as they're happening, and that's a whole other topic. And self-plug, there's a video on my TikTok account. I don't want to try and explain it, but
subscribe below.
Yeah, just check it out. But I will say that the places that I have memories of shifting to, there haven't been any for me personally that I don't want to shift there anymore. But I can think back about like my memories from shifting, and I can totally understand why people, like if things don't go the way that they planned or the way that they thought, I can totally understand being like, yeah, I'm done, I can't go there anymore, but then still also being sad about it. Like, and I think even people who haven't shifted, you can get that same kind of feeling with scripts. But obviously, whenever you have actually shifted and experienced it, it is a little bit different because you're so connected, and it feels like you're abandoning someone or like you're leaving them, and they're going to wonder where you are. But I do think it's important to remember that like you're still there. Just because you're not shifting there doesn't mean that you don't still exist there. So if there's anyone who is listening and is like feeling bad about not shifting to a DR anymore, You're still there. And that's something that I have to remind myself too while I'm not actively shifting, that like people aren't missing me. Nothing bad is happening. And you just have to remember that like you're still there, even if you're not shifting there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, like that's that's beautifully worded.
Thank you.
Like I can, for some reason, I can only remember one person off the top of my head, and that like the video I'm thinking of was from like a while ago.
Yeah.
But they said that they were just like basically switching DRs, but they like were done with their Golden Trio DR, and basically they were kind of like their last day was basically just like a normal day at Hogwarts, and I like it was just like I guess it was bittersweet. There we go. It was just a bittersweet moment. But they were like, I'm kind of just like that. Like I guess I'm kind of just like grown out of it.
Yeah.
And they ended up just making not like a new Golden Trio, but they ended up making a Marauders DR instead. But I think they said that just a lot had happened in their Golden Trio, so they didn't want to stay.
Yeah.
But I get that, and I know it's hard whenever you have a bigger platform to tell people that you're not going somewhere anymore, and it's even harder whenever you don't fully want to explain why, because people are very nosy and feel
So
that
nosy.
they have the right to know everything about what's going on.
Yep.
And they don't, by the way, you don't.
Yep.
But it's hard. With stuff like that. And it's even harder to, I mean, obviously I don't know, but I'm just saying for anybody, it is hard to let go with something like that, especially if it is media that you still love.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I'm afraid for that to happen, but if it happens, it happens, okay? Like I guess.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit off topic, but it does kind of tie into some people are just like scared about how things are going to work out in their DR when they shift. And for me, every time that I've shifted, it's gone ways that I want. So I can't personally say like, yeah, things sometimes don't go the way that you want. But actually, light bulb moment, in one of my DRs, in my Bridgerton DR, I found out that my sister is in love with my fiance after we get engaged. Yeah. And everything works out. She gets married to somebody else and they are perfectly happy and I love them so much and we move past it. But if it hadn't worked out that way, and if Colin Bridgerton had been like, oh, you love me? Never mind, let's not get engaged to like me. I could totally understand being like, no, I'm not going to continue shifting there and watch you do something that I don't want to watch you do. So I can completely understand why people sometimes are just like, I can't handle the way this is going anymore, and like just want to start fresh with something else.
That's tea.
That is tea. That is tea.
Literally insane.
Yeah, I could. There's more, but it does end up okay. I marry Colin. She marries someone else. We're all happy and family and fine. If that makes you feel better. It doesn't always work out badly.
I guess this is like something I came up with while you were talking, but going back to shifting for love and being someone who does not, I don't know how many people, I feel like most people are in the boat where they shift for love, but I have not met any other people in my boat where, so obviously I am a plot shifter, and whenever I shift somewhere, there are still people who I'm interested in. Most of the time, it is not just one person. Like, I would be okay ending up with, like, one, like, this person or this person. So except, like, obviously there are a few DRs where there are exceptions, where I obviously am only going for one person. But I feel like, just for me, and now I'm gonna feel bad whenever, like, I have other mutuals listening to this, because I'm gonna be like, Rain! But I feel, like, excluded sometimes whenever I'm talking to people where they are talking about their significant others, or and like there are people where I do not specifically just have one, where I'm kind of just standing there like, hello.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if other people feel the same way, where they do not specifically have one person, or they are not shifting for anybody, so it feels odd to talk about it with other people.
Yeah, and I am gonna say that I don't have any experiences like that, but I'm I'm just gonna keep talking. Okay, so I do think sorry, I didn't make you die. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
You're good.
I do feel like I understand what you mean, not in the same sense, but that God, I should take a breath and collect my thoughts. I I think that we do tend to get, as a community on Shift Talk, we do tend to get focused on our romantic interests. And even if there are people who have fun plots as well, or like fun powers in their DR, I feel like a lot of comments are like, but what about your person? What about this? What about that? And I do think that it's important that we talk about not everyone wants to shift for a person. Not everyone wants to have any relationship. Not everyone knows who they want to shift for. Like, there are so many reasons that people decide to shift that I wish that the general community could be a little bit more rounded when it comes to like what you talk about. That's why I feel like accounts like yours are really, really important, just to see like different perspectives so that people don't feel alone. So I feel bad that you feel that way. But I do think that you're helping other people not feel that way by like what you post and what you talk about.
It's not like I'm mad that people like talk about their significant others. I love listening about their significant others. Like, I like hearing about like what you think about them, what they're doing, like you guys together. I think it's so cute. It's just that like obviously sometimes I feel out of place.
Yeah.
But I also sometimes what you were just like talking about, like I like obviously whenever I start posting like whenever I shift and I start posting content and I'm with somebody, I'm a very private person. I will not be sharing every little thing that happens between me and my like significant other. Like, I'm sorry guys, like sorry to burst your bubble. Like, I maybe like we got engaged, like here's like the wedding or something like that. But I will not be like, we went on a date today. We kissed and held hands and then he loved me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I'm a private person. I don't like, not everyone is like that. But me personally, I'm a very private person.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Like, even as me, who my account is mostly talking about like my memories and scenarios and things that have happened with me and like romantic interests, I also don't want to tell you about literally everything. Like, sometimes I'll be on live and I'll be talking about like my relationship with Mateo specifically right now, and people will ask me for like such explicit details, and I'm like, first of all, why are you asking? Second of all, why do you think I would share this with you? Like, if I was just some person talking about my life here, would you ask me these questions? But
exactly.
But you think that it's, I don't know, like, yeah, it's in a different reality, but it's just as real as here. Like, why are you asking me why do you feel comfortable asking me? And even not even explicit details, even just like you said, like, you don't want to talk about your dates, and that's fine, and you don't have to, but people feel entitled to like know these things about you when like you wouldn't share them if it was something happening here. So like, why would you share them just because they're in a different reality? Like, you don't have to share things just because you're a shifter.
Exactly. Like, and I like, that's like, I mean, not even like okay, let me see what I'm gonna say and then I'm gonna say what I was just about to say. The stuff like that is stuff you would share with like your like best like friends most of the time.
Exactly.
But not even sometimes people share that with their best friends. Like, you normally would be like, oh, here's how my date with, like, okay, let's say Maddie and I are talking about, like, I went on a date, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, we held hands and, like, kissed or something. Like, that's what I would share. I would share that to Maddie because we are friends. I would not share that to 100 plus people on a live. Because not all of you are my best friends. So.
Exactly.
I, like, that's stuff like that people ask for on lives is stuff you share with, like, your friends or your best friends or whatever. I would not share that to people I do not know.
But I know you're about to say something else and I don't want to like get too off topic, but I will say I don't share very much about my personal life on my account or on my live or anything, but I do share a lot about my personal life in other realities. So it's not necessary. I don't know. I just feel like there is a boundary, especially when I have said multiple times in videos and on lives, like, that's not something you should be asking me right now. Like, yes, I'm sharing what I want to share, but that doesn't mean you get to just ask for other information just because you want it. So I think there's a difference sometimes in sharing. Like, I share more about my DR life than my life here, but that's just because of the nature of being a Shift Talk creator. Like, I just don't talk about my personal life, but you know.
Yeah, I just like, I don't know. I just felt like I should talk about it. I was like, it's so interesting. Like, I feel like actually a lot of my mutuals are people who ship for like interest, but I actually don't know. I just haven't asked. But that's just like what I get. I don't
Yeah.
no. I just started a poll and like all like my group chat with my friends like, hey guys, like pick please.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just like I wonder what other I just don't know. I just kind of thought about it. I was like, I wonder if other people are in the same boat, just because I feel like I see most of the time people talking about significant others. So I was like, but I also know I see sometimes people going for the plot, but I also sometimes wonder if people go for both.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I just kind of thought about it, and I was like, write that down.
Write that down. It's important. Podcast.
I don't know. I just thought about it. Okay.
Yeah, I like it. It was a good conversation.
Did you have any last things to say about the 17 things we talked about in a row? Because I forgot to say stuff in between.
It's
about
okay.
Deciding not to shift anywhere first. Any last thoughts about that?
I think it's important that you know when to let go. I said that earlier, but sometimes you just need to give it up, and that's okay. That's my final thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. I agree. It's okay to let go, especially like if you forgot you had it, haven't thought about it in 85 years, like let it go. And like
it's okay.
This also may be like a hot thing. I think at one point there is a point where you have too many DRs. I think that's just me, but I want to say I only have like 10 maybe. But even like I've had people tell me that 10 is too many, and I'm like, 10 is too many? What do you mean 10 is too many? What? I know people who have over 100.
I have 38, so I can't really talk about 10 is too many. But I will say that not all of those. I have some that I'm like, I'm probably never actually going to shift there. I don't have a script. I don't really have a plan. It's just like
in the works.
Yeah.
Like
that could be fun. Yeah.
Because like I know like I have one that's like, I don't know, like it's kind of like always changing. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna go there. So like I think I have like 9.
Yeah.
But like and then I have another one that's in the works. So I don't know. I'm like I want to eventually go there, but to be honest, I probably only have like 8. But I think about all my DRs often, or I'm always not always changing my scripts, but like sometimes like I make adjustments, or I put them on like I use Google Docs, but sometimes I put them on like something different, just make them look prettier, or like just to spice them up. Because whenever I move them, I reread what I write, and then I'm like, this makes no sense, or I don't like what I put. Like, let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
But like the one time I said I think I had 10, someone's like, that's too many, and I was like, what?
No.
They had like 2, and I was like, most people nowadays have like 5 or more.
Yeah, and I think sometimes some people get confused as to like whenever I say I have 38 DRs, they're like, oh, you focus on that many at a time, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. I am only focused on my Mateo DR right now. Like I only focus on the one.
Most people only focus on like one at a time.
Yeah. And it's not like I know some people will rotate, like some nights they want to try for this DR and some nights they want to try for another. I go weeks and months just focus on the same DR.
Most of the time I'm hyper focused on the same DR
for
like several months as well.
Yes.
But I am like, I'm someone still who thinks that there is a point where there is too many. I want to say like if you have like 50 or more, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like,
I just feel like
if you have scripts for all of them.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, that's where I draw the line. I'm sorry.
I think it's kind of important to prioritize this reality sometimes. Like if you have that much time to make that many scripts, like there's no way that you're actually focused on all of those and paying attention to your physical and mental health in this reality. Like there's no, you got to take a step back and realize like what you're doing and how you're spending your time.
I agree. And like, I obviously, if you guys have noticed, I haven't really posted my account too much. It's just that I've been so busy, and not like in a bad way. Like life has just been like, I've been riding life's roller coaster, and like kind of enjoying the ride. Like and obviously I'm a young adult, as some of you guys know, or if you guys don't know, I am a young adult. But it's been going pretty well, and I haven't been focusing on shifting too much. I was for a little bit, like I was fixing some scripts, but I haven't tried to shift shift for a while, but I would love to go back, but it's just like on my back burner. Like
Yeah.
I'm not really focused on it. But I want to go back, but it's just I'm not like in the mood to yet. Like I'm kind of enjoying. Well, okay, I that's what I was about to say. When my sounded so bad, like whenever I'm not enjoying life, I try and shift.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, but yeah, it's just the phrasing.
Like I'm not craving to shift yet. Like I'm still like kind of just chilling. But whenever I want to shift, I will go back to trying to shift.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of shifting, because there is zero time limit. You can shift as long as you want to, because the possibilities are endless.
But like I'm that's now that like I'm still riding like the roller coaster, but I'm not as busy. I'm still gonna like post content.
Yeah.
But I like obviously I like posting content more whenever I want to shift. But I don't know. It's just life is so silly.
Life is so silly. I agree. I agree.
Oh, I meant to ask your thoughts on like the love interest thing.
The love interest thing. I mean, I shift for love interests. I love a good love interest moment. But I do think it's important to remember that it doesn't have to be like that. Like, I don't want anyone to feel pressured that like part of shifting is having a love interest. Like, you don't have to have a love interest to want to shift somewhere. And that's kind of funny coming from me, because I have a love interest in all of my DRs, but that's because I choose to. Like, I don't ever feel like I have to pick a love interest if I don't want one. So I guess that's it.
Other thing for me about like not specifically having a love interest in every DR is I am always someone where I'm like, what if I end up not falling for the person I was originally quote unquote supposed to fall for?
Yeah.
Because I talked about this in another podcast episode where I was like, what if they're not like how I thought they would be?
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why I don't specifically have one person. But most of the time, in most groups, like I said before, I am like interested in more than one person.
Yeah.
So I am just like, I would be okay. I shouldn't say like interested. Like I'd be okay with like this person or this person. Like I wouldn't be mad.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, I'm not interested in anybody, so I don't really care. Or I may end up falling for someone in the DR where I'm not interested in anybody originally. So I think that's why, like, I'm so focused, like, on plot. Where something could happen, like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I love that for you. I think it's so fun to have that kind of, like, mindset, and I wish I could be more chill like that. Not, like... Obviously you focus on things too, but for me, I'm only ever focused on the relationship. And again, like I choose to do that, but sometimes I wish I could just like enjoy the ride and not constantly think about another person. I don't know if that makes sense. I love my DRs and I love my people. Okay.
Okay, some people are going to know about this. Some of my other friends. I once made a Google Doc being like, people I think I could fall in love with in my DRs after I've shipped.
I love that.
Google Doc. And then I made another Google Doc where I was like, people I think I will hate in my scripts.
I love that.
Like, people I think I won't get along with and why. And I should have made like a presentation.
And why?
Yeah.
You should. You should. I would watch that.
If you guys are looking for fun stuff to do, because I convinced my friends to do it, do like a people you think you will hate in each DR and why, and like do presentation with like your friends or something. I did it on a Google Doc, but I should have done like a presentation and like put like a picture and then put like bullet points like why or because it's the funniest shit you've ever.
Oh my god, yes.
Friends. I should have done a presentation, but I may like update it. But if you guys are looking for something funny to do, please do it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is so fun.
Anyway, any last thoughts before we go?
I think I'm good.
Is there anybody you hate?
Is there anybody I hate?
Off the top of your head, no.
I hate Harry Potter in my Mateo DR.
Well, I was like...
Controversial. He broke up with me, so I think he deserves it. He was an asshole. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. Might be.
I thought you were just saying I hate Harry Potter in general, and I was like...
No, I like Harry Potter. In all of my DRs, I have 5 of them. In 4 of them, we are really good friends. In my Mateo DR, he and I dated for almost 2.5 years, and then I broke up with him, and really he broke up with me because he wanted to keep our relationship a secret, and he sucks. And then when I started dating Mateo, he yelled at me in front of everyone. So he sucks in that DR specifically.
All right, you guys. Well, this has been the last episode of 2023 for Projection Project. It will not, if you guys watch the Spotify Wrapped video, it will obviously not be in the Spotify Wrapped. Frowny face. But if you guys don't know or haven't listened to any other episodes, Projection Project is on Spotify. It has its own website and is on YouTube. You can just look up Projection Project, or if you can't find it for some reason, I believe the username is Projection Project 111 is the username, I think. The picture is the same, the two people like holding hands or whatever, and it says Projection Project. I believe that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good New Year. Happy holidays. Bye.